Welcome, everybody, to the Filler Feed Podcast. This is episode number 6. My name is Nathan, also known as O0Brilliant0O on YouTube, and I'm joined, as always, by my friend and co-host, Mr. Eric. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm great, dude.
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited for this podcast. It's been too long. It's
Yeah,
been like a
we...
week.
Okay, so two things. We have a lot of stuff to talk about this week, and second of all, the reason why we didn't do a podcast last week was actually because, so we live in the same town, and the internet was out for our entire town for that day, until the following day. So basically, we had like a 1 day window to do it. The internet was out, and then we actually had to go to our robotics competition, which is the first thing that I actually want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, we're seniors, and we're a part of our high school robotics team, and we had our regional competition this weekend, which was super awesome. And we did pretty well. So there were 63 teams, and we finished 29th. That
Yep.
was our final standing.
Yep.
But what was awesome is that we actually got picked by the number 5 alliance seed. So how this works is that the top 8 alliances, after pool play is done and qualifiers and everything like that, you have 8 teams, and those top 8 teams pick 2 other teams to be on their alliance because it's a 3-man match. And the number 5 seed picked our team to be their teammate, which was awesome. So
Yeah.
we actually played into the semifinals is where we actually ended up, and
We
we
were third
basically
in the semifinals.
yeah
So,
yeah so we lost to basically the number 1 seed, who was so far and away better than everybody else. So like I was talking about, those top 8 teams can actually pick within themselves. So for alliance selection, the number 1 team, it was team number 525, also known as the Swart Dogs. They chose team number 2, seed number 2, to be their teammates. So team number 2 accepted, which basically formed just a super powerful alliance that was so head and shoulders above everybody else, that everybody was kind of playing for second place.
yep. So can I
But
kind of explain what the competition was?
yeah,
Or
yeah. I was actually gonna head there, so go ahead.
so basically, what it was this year is the theme was Recycle Rush, and so in the middle of this playing field, which was a fairly large, I don't know the exact dimensions, but in the middle were these gray totes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just lead in. OBS decided to stop recording randomly, so it happened. So basically, I added a window. It was a Chrome page to basically just show an example of the field that we were talking about. But I guess that is a little bit. OBS doesn't really like that very much, so it stopped recording randomly. But anyway, so Eric was explaining how points are scored essentially, and how the match actually works for this year.
Yeah. So in the middle of the playing field are those gray totes, and in the middle of those gray totes are 2 like very large green garbage bins, or like recycling bins. And in order to get points, you had to stack those on certain platforms that were located. There were 2 of them on each side.
Yep.
The highest I think people got was like 6 high, plus 6 of the totes, plus the green bin. And then in addition to that, you could get points from using pool noodles. So you could that was the litter technically, so you could put the pool noodle in the garbage bin and then stack that for extra points. Or you could throw the pool noodles, like your actual human player could throw the pool noodles across to the other side and to kind of litter their playing field. And you got extra points for that, so.
Yep. So essentially, the number 1 team, Team 525, had this strategy where there are actually 2 feeding stations for each team. And so you can't see this, but I'll just kind of explain with this picture that I have pulled up in Chrome right now. Basically, they had a human feeding station where you can actually feed like these gray totes, and they would take the robot and align it right about here. And they would designate one guy who was really, really fast. By the way, like this Asian kid was booking
He
it.
was booking it.
So you have totes that are actually stacked up here that human players can touch and move around and stuff. So essentially, during the 15 seconds of autonomous, which is a period where robots move based off of their programming and they're not being controlled by any human player. During that, he would start stacking these totes by this feeding station, and once. So their robot would actually go forward and knock over one of these garbage cans, and basically, once autonomous period ended, they would then they had these like intake wheels where they would essentially just intake any like be it garbage can or tote or whatever into their little slot. So they would essentially knock over this garbage can. Bring it with them, and then they would like raise it up. So then they would drive over to this feeding station, and this kid would just like feed these toads just over and over and over, and they would essentially like intake those totes into their sort of area, and then they would raise it up, and then he would slide another one down the chute, and then they would raise that one up. So you always had this sort of it was just a very, very high rate of tote stacking, and basically once he had about it was like 5 or 6 high, and with the garbage can on top, there were then noodles that he could handle back here too. So he would stuff a noodle in the top, and they would turn around and set it right over here on this white platform, and basically that earned them about 40 to 50 points, like right there in about
Yep.
30 seconds, I would say.
So they
And
could get like on top of that, they had towards the end they had the other alliance or the other team member doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So they had
Yeah.
like pretty much every 30 seconds they had boom 100 points
Yep.
almost.
So
It was nuts.
And for comparison, like our final alliance when we got picked by the number 5 seed, we were able to average about 117-ish, 115-ish points per match.
Yep.
Meanwhile, this team is like touching the 200 mark. They are getting way up there. So basically, yeah. So the number 1 team had that system going, which was crazy efficient, and then the number 2 team basically did the same thing, and it was so many points were just racked up by those 2 teams where they just dominated really hard, and they had actually won like I don't. Maybe it's more than one, but like at least one previous regional
This
other
year.
than this regional last weekend. Yeah, this year. So that was insane too.
And
But
they, like
they
in the past they've won like 3.
yeah, but they like it's one of those situations where they're a huge school, and I'm guessing they have a very large budget as well. So
We talked sorry to interrupt.
oh, go ahead.
We talked to the number 2 seeding, which is actually they're still from our state. Team 525 was from Iowa,
Yep.
I think. So we talked to number 2 seed, and they had like 50 members. They were working 7 days a
my
week compared to
gosh.
our 3 days a week.
Yeah.
They were going out. They had a whole team devoted to marketing and like getting fundraising and all this stuff, and it was like nuts. They had
Yeah.
so many people just working for them. It was crazy.
So that and I mean, I don't know if their school allocates them a budget, but like our team, like we're not from a huge school. Like we have approximately like 110 people in our senior class right now. So like that kind of gives a scope of how big our school is. We have no budget. Like our school could not spare the expense. And basically we have to fundraise through just like soliciting from businesses to get any money that we want to use on the robot and or slash equipment and stuff like that. And it's like we're still because we're fairly new like fairly new to the program actually, so we're still buying like tools and stuff, and like I mean we have the basics that we need. Like we have like things like a drill press and like wrench sets and stuff like that, but like there's a lot of stuff that we don't have, and the fact that we were able to make it this far on what we have is pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, it was a good way to end the 4 years that we've been in robotics
Yep
this
so
year, because this is we got really far. So
yeah, so this is our graduating year, so it's definitely a good year to go out on. Let's see. Okay, so Yeah, that was pretty much this weekend. That took up like 4 days. It was Thursday through
Saturday.
Saturday, and then Sunday was Easter, so that was to me that was just considered gone. So,
Yeah.
and then yesterday we were just feeling lazy. We didn't really want to do the podcast, so now we're
Mhm.
doing it today, and hopefully it'll be up by Friday as you guys are watching this. So, yeah. So to get into gaming stuff, there is a lot of gaming stuff that we have on the to-do list, so to speak. I actually want to start out with Shadowrun, if
Yeah.
you'd like to go into that.
So yesterday I received the core rulebook for Shadowrun, which is a whopping 480 pages of rules and lore for something very similar to Dungeons and Dragons. So if
Basically.
you've ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons, it's a role-playing game where you basically like tell a story and then you roll dice to see what happens. That's kind of the very basics of it, but that's the gist of what happens. So this is, instead of being in medieval times, this version of a role playing game is set in the future. So basically, the story is that the whole 2012 Mayan calendar shit, when that hit, magic came back into the world, and people started transforming or goblinizing into orcs and trolls and elves and all this other stuff. And magic came back to the world, and dragons came back, and it's just nuts. And then over time, like big mega corporations started dominating the entire world, and so there's like 10 big megacorps that basically run the whole world, and they like own all this land, and it's just nuts. So I'm about 200 pages, 150 pages in. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be the game master for our playthrough, and it's difficult. I honestly think
There
I might have to
is
read this book twice because
there's so much
there's so
stuff.
much stuff. It's
Yeah.
like the rules are there's a lot of stuff that we can kind of toss aside just because we're new and it's not something that's completely necessary for the game, but there's also a lot of necessary things going on that are just like really complicated. So
There's a lot of stuff to keep track of,
yep.
and like, knowing when to roll at certain times and like stuff like
Mhm.
that. So just to clarify, is this actually related to D&D, or is this not?
It's a different company, so
Okay, so
no.
Wizards has not like there's
I
nothing
don't
to do
think
with it.
so.
Okay.
It's a different rolling system too. So
So it looks very similar to Pathfinder. Is it? So what is it? What is actually the company?
the company is Catalyst Game Labs. So
Okay. So I don't think that's the same as Pathfinder. It's basically the same thing as G&G, as D&D.
yep.
Um, but yeah, hopefully, I don't know, like I would assume it's going to take at least a couple of weeks for you to like get through that and like know what the hell you're doing.
And honestly,
Um,
it'll take a couple of run throughs just to
yeah.
get the hang of all that stuff anyway. Because like, I mean, we're gonna end up really confused the first time we play.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, I would like just like a practice run. Like okay, so if you took, for example, in study hall or something, if
mhm.
you took like me and like one other person and just like ran just like the most basic of missions, that would
Yeah.
help as just a practice run as well.
Yep.
So like what do they give like mission suggestions in that book? Like do they give like all
Sort of.
right, so here's like a cookie cutter story. Here's like what are some of the objectives that players might be going
So,
through?
basically, the term Shadowrun comes from the people that run the streets, and they kind of do the dirty work that the megacorps don't want to do.
Okay.
So they kind of
Sounds
like they
interesting.
kind of play around with the gangs, and they'll some. There's also gangs, which is another thing. But so you'll go and you'll talk to someone, and he'll be like, yeah, so this guy wants some data stolen, and he'll give you a bunch of money if you go into this big megacorp headquarters and steal all this data. And so you got to go in there and you got to hack in and you got to sneak by the guards and you got to do all this stuff to get all this data. And it's just so there's a few like suggestions that they give. Like nothing is there's no like storyline that like you're not a specific character. You get to make your own character and kind of make your own story, and that's part of the fun. But there's kind of a cookie cutter thing going on.
Is there like a final like is there like a villain presiding over the story? Like is there
Not really. Honestly, like I think the only villains that you could kind of think of would be the gangs or the megacorps, and it's like there's levels of difficulty that like as far as even just simple actions go, or like all the stuff that you'll need way more like skill points to achieve. So like there's kind of like you can't really just jump in willy-nilly and go into this megacorp and be like, hey, I want to steal
give
this.
me all your data?
Yeah, like you'll have to start off doing some basic, just like stealing drugs from kids, and that's a joke, but you know what I mean. Just like very small missions.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose you could start your way up there. It'd just be way more difficult, and it depends on the game master and all that stuff. But
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like it'd be more fun to work your way up.
yeah, start small.
Hmm.
So yeah, we should get together one day, probably in the summertime, I would guess,
Yeah.
and like run through that. That'd be pretty fun. I think we would have to allocate like 4 hours or something, or like something
No kidding.
ridiculous
And
like
like there's a whole character creation process, and if we want to even touch on that, that's going to take a whole day in itself. Like that's going to take a whole 3 or 4 hours just to do that, because it's so much work.
Yeah.
It's so much work.
Oh, I had something to say. I forget. I don't remember. Anyway, I want to remember. 1 second.
You got this. Shadowrun. Megacorps.
Something about characters.
Characters. There's like preset characters too. That's probably what we're going to be starting out with. Like there's
Yeah.
they're kind of classes, I suppose you could call them. But
So yeah, you can be. I mean, that's something that was actually surprising to me, is that even in this futuristic setting, they still managed to incorporate like elves and like dwarves and
Yep.
dragons, and like that's some weird ass shit.
I know
To
it's
me.
weird.
Like, it seems like that stuff should stay in just the olden times. Like, what if they just incorporated like an alien race instead, like something we haven't? I mean, you could still substitute that. It's just
Yeah.
you just make it up on the fly, I guess.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I think it's just because people are familiar with that. It's a lot easier.
Yeah,
to,
that's
like,
true. Like everybody knows
conceptualize in your head.
generally what an elf can do
It's like,
and stuff like
and
that.
well, yeah, what you can do and stuff like that. So
All right,
yeah.
so
that's good. That's gonna be fun.
yeah. The other thing that I had, so yesterday, well, no, not yesterday, actually, 2 days ago, GTA 5 was available for preload, and I don't know if I want to talk about this that much, but I just wanted to say it's so awesome that we finally freaking have this game on our systems. And I'm so excited to play that because I actually found out, I watched, I think it was a GameSpot or IGN interview. They actually said that the reason why they had to delay the game for whatever 2 weeks or whatever it was because they were working on first of all, optimizing the game so that it can run on all sorts of systems. So if you have a potato, it might run. I don't know. But it was also because they're working on they have this sort of like camera recording system that's exclusive to PC. So basically, I don't know if you've ever recorded anything like TF2 or anything, but essentially you load up this file and it will record essentially about a block radius from you, like in the world, and essentially like you can sort of I don't know how to explain this, like explore, not explore, but like as you're running around in the game, this program is recording everything you do within about a block's radius. So like, let's say you made this amazing sniper shot for some citizen, whatever, across the street, or I don't fucking know, but you can like it's not always going to be recorded from a third or first person perspective. You can actually like float around and like go check out stuff that was happening before
cool.
like a certain event happened.
So is that kind of like a Halo 3 kind of thing?
Yeah,
where you're like,
yeah, basically like that. So I guess they're doing that. I don't know like what mechanically specifically they were hung up on, but it just sort of said they were generally sort of polishing that whole thing up, which is kind of cool because then now you can get it's extra support for things like YouTube and you can get like cooler clips online and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like this game was released a year and a half ago. I'm still excited to see it. Like I haven't watched any gameplay, haven't watched walkthrough anything, just because I wanted to save the experience for playing it on PC. So
Yeah.
I'm like ready to go.
I saw Tyler brought his Xbox to the robotics competition actually,
Oh, that's
and
right. Yeah.
we played Grand Theft Auto, or he did a little bit, and we kind of watched him. And I mean, it looks great even on the Xbox. So I'm excited to see what it looks like on the PC because it was still pretty cool just on the Xbox.
Yeah, and obviously mod support and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so like I actually never got into the whole GTA 4 scene. I was a little bit late on that. By the time I had like actually bought GTA 4 and be like, I want to play this. It had already been like a couple of years old. So it was like to me like the graphics were worn down a little bit. Not that that matters, but it was just like everything just seemed a little bit old, I guess. I don't know. But like I never got into that crazy wacky mod scene. Like I've seen so many videos of people just installing like crazy shit in that game, and they just do wacky stuff. So if I can have that experience in GTA 5, then it's gonna be awesome. But overall, again, just super excited for that.
Yeah.
And that's
for
coming
sure.
out next Tuesday. So that would be 4 days from now, which is awesome.
Wow. That's awesome. I need to buy that.
Yeah, you should. You said that
'Cause
you
you
were
can do
running.
like online play stuff too, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can do like co-op. I think you can co-op certain missions. I don't even know how that works to be honest. I think you can invite another player into your world and like I don't know if you can do missions or if you can just fuck around or do both.
I mean,
Again,
honestly, I'd be happy with just fucking around.
yeah, basically like a Saints Row type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about was so Hearthstone, the Blackrock Mountain expansion, or DLC, I don't know what to call it, has released, and I've seen a lot of the cards, well, certain cards from Blackrock Mountain being used. Now, I'm like, you've seen a little bit just from spectating us in like
Yep.
school and stuff. You said that you haven't played that much.
No, I haven't really had a chance to touch on it.
Okay, well,
So,
basically, if you guys are into Hearthstone and you're thinking about saving up gold to buy Blackrock Mountain, really the only wing that you will need to purchase is the first wing because it has the best cards of the entire set. It has, first of all, Gang Up, which is a huge rogue card because it like people are now running mill rogue. Essentially, what you do, Gang Up is a card where you choose a minion and you shuffle 3 of those minions into your deck. Now you can, and it's like a 2 cost or something like that. So what you can do is you can copy either like a really powerful minion to put into your deck, something that will just be amazing. Like if you copied like 3 or if you copied Ragnaros and put like
yeah.
3 Ragnaroses into your deck, first of all, that's broken as fuck. But what you can actually do is copy something like a Cold Light Oracle, which its battle cry is each player draws 2 cards. So essentially what you do is you keep playing these Cold Light Oracles and you keep milling both the other person and yourself. But the thing is, I don't know how Rogue like deals with milling herself essentially. Because BlackRock, or I mean, Cold Light doesn't like specify the enemy draws 2 cards; it's both of you. So I don't know how that really works. But people have been playing Mill Rogue, so that's really cool. I like the mill mechanic overall. I
Yeah,
find it
it's really
super fun.
weird. It's just fun. Like it's not really a game-winning deck, but it's
Yeah.
just kind of fun to dink around in and piss off the other people.
Yeah. So like Mill Druid is so fun. I don't. To me, like it's like basically taking out their best cards is so satisfying. Like, oh, you're gonna play this like 9 to 10 cost minion. I'm gonna naturalize that, and guess what? You get to draw 2 cards, which are gonna be immediately burned up because you have a full hand. So that, and then Emperor. I forget what his name is. Emperor. Let me Google this. Blackrock Mountain.
That's a stupid card.
Okay,
It's
so
very, very good.
Emperor Daground Thurician. Basically, this card is. Oh, hang on. Emperor Thurician. Okay. I need to actually pull the card up to make sure I don't get this wrong. So it's a 6-cost 5/5, which is decent. Like, that's efficient by itself.
Yeah.
So his ability is, at the end of your turn, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. So, obviously, it makes everything, like, so much, like, just a ton of stuff super cheap. But, like, people have mostly been using it because it opens up a lot of combos. So, certain combos that might have been super good, that might cost, like, 11 or 12 mana, all of a sudden you can actually play those combos with the mana that you have. So, like, you might not need to play Prep Sprint. You could just play, Sprint by itself and still have, like, 5 mana to spare. So it's like and that's not a good example of a combo. That's just a generically good card. That's just really high cost. But he's so good because he, like, if you have, for example, like 6 cards in your hand, and he's going to reduce the cost of all of them by 1, that means that you essentially gave yourself about 6 mana, because that's essentially what they're all adding up to. I mean, it doesn't, obviously it doesn't balance equally like that to have 6 straight up mana, but, like, that's kind of what he does. So, just a super good card, and he's broken as fuck. And he's in the first wing of Blackrock, so, like, everybody can basically get him, which is insane.
And, like, in the game that you played, I think, or was it... No, you were... Was it? Yeah, it was you.
Yep.
He faceless manipped that same card, so
Yep.
every turn you'd have two less.
Yep. So,
And that's just ridiculous. Like,
that's
you could
so
have
dumb.
you could use the new rogue card, get 3 of those out, and then just win immediately.
Yeah, it's
like that's just so dumb.
Pyroblast, you can play like a 6-cost Pyroblast. That's just insane. But anyway, that's and then what was the other one? Blackrock First Wing. I'm gonna Google this and see if it comes up. There was one other card that was pretty good. Oh, I think it was one of those super efficient cards. So it was like, Grim Patron. So, Grim Patron is a 5-cost 3/3. Whenever this minion survives damage, summon another Grim Patron. So, so one of our friends doesn't like this card, actually, because he said it's... So, the downside is that it's 5 mana, which is quite a bit, for 3/3, so it can be easily removed. But if you manage to get another one on the field by dealing 1 damage to it, whether you're a mage and you just ping it, or you play some warrior card that will deal some damage to it, this thing starts to multiply, like, exponentially.
Yep.
So that's... it can get out of hand really quick, basically.
I have a question. So does it work like if I hit this... So if I have the 3/3 and I ping it, so it's a 3/2 and there's a 3/3 out again.
Yep.
If I ping the new 3/3, do I get 2 more then?
You get 1 more.
Okay.
Because it's like when the minion itself takes damage, it'll just essentially summon another one.
Okay, that makes sense. I was gonna say that would be kind of steamrolly and broken, but
yeah,
it makes sense that they did that.
That would basically be a bunch, basically force of nature.
Yeah.
Just like many force of natures.
Yeah. Which is nuts.
Anyway, that card is super cool. I don't know if it'll see play in terms of higher level decks of like warrior or mage specifically, because they mostly have the cards that can deal damage to it. But it's very interesting, and I think you could more often than not get it to kind of steamroll, essentially.
Yeah.
It does die to like a Wrath and a Flame Strike, which kind of sucks, but meh. So
Or even like the priest cards.
yeah, it
Shadowrun.
is affected by what is it, Shadowward Pain? Yeah.
Yeah.
So other than that, I wasn't really impressed by many of the other cards, to
Yeah,
be
the whole
honest.
dragon synergy thing, I'm not too keen on.
Yeah,
They
like
just don't look that good.
mostly because I don't think there aren't that many dragons.
Yeah.
Like there's and it like because there's not that many dragons, you're forcing yourself to essentially play with
One
cards that you
deck.
don't like. So let's say you did want to make a
That too.
dragon deck. Well, those dragons may not be the best cards for what you want to use them for.
Hmm.
Also,
And it's
there's
yeah.
a kitty. Oh, she wants to get down. I'm sorry.
Oh, I wish I could see your cat.
It's the really fluffy one that's also really skittish.
Yeah, your cat does not like people.
Yeah, she's
I have a
new,
bummer.
but we got her like a couple months ago. Oh, so there was, I think, there was one legendary that I thought had some potential, but I can't remember it.
There's
So
one that turns you into Ragnaros,
yeah, yeah, I think that was the
which
one
is
actually.
nuts.
I don't
And
know,
like
like
it's
what
a
is?
it's a 2 cost, deal 8/8 damage to a random enemy.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
and you only have 8 health. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
So obviously a last ditch effort, but
yeah,
if you can basically transform yourself into Rag, and then I don't know if you would have enough mana left over to use your hero power, and like win the game, but it's a super last ditch attempt, I think.
yep.
Um. So other than that, the bosses look interesting. Like for the actual
Mhm.
playing through the wings, they look pretty cool, and I like the map that came with it too, like the lava map. So that's cool too. So overall, good expansion, I would say. But
I
the cards
remember
are kind of sketchy. Meh.
I remember the good old days of playing Blackrock Mountain and WoW.
Oh yeah, I sometimes
Cool.
forget about the WoW synergy because like it's because Heroes of the Storm is made by Blizzard too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so like in that game, I think you can play as Malfurion Stormrage, who is the
yeah,
druid essentially, and
yeah,
it's so weird seeing like those characters across the
yeah.
games.
I know it's kind of nuts. Like you can play Thrall too.
Oh, the shaman, yeah, that's
Yeah,
super cool. So,
pretty cool.
that's Blackrock Mountain.
I'm pretty sure you can play Thrall. Maybe not.
Um, so did you have any games that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I mean, I kind of took a break from Skyrim just because it's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and we had that whole thing with Clayton where he accidentally loaded one of his older saves instead of saving over it, and that just kind of sucks for him.
Yeah.
I don't know what
So
he's gonna do about that.
one of our friends lost out on about like 20 to 30 hours, did he say, of playing
Yeah,
Skyrim.
he played all of the what is it called, Solstein,
Soul Steam DLC.
and just lost it all.
And okay, that's so Skyrim is one thing that I wanted to talk about as well. So I never bought the DLC. It's somehow on my computer. I have no idea how, and that's not like a piracy joke or anything.
No,
Like
yeah,
I legitimately have no idea why I was able to access it.
that
But
you know what happened with Clayton is he got it from me because I logged in on his computer,
yeah, so I don't.
which is weird.
That's a weird like transfer
I know.
thing. You'd think that
Anyways,
Bethesda would, I don't know, have coded differently for that.
yeah,
Anyway, Soul Steam is scary as fuck, dude. Like
yeah.
okay, so when I got there, I was level 17. So I was just the squishy motherfucker, the squishy little two-handed knight who thought he had like good armor and shit. And then I go around and like battling Ash spawn is terrifying. Like they'll just randomly pop up out of the ground and
Yeah.
they do so much damage and like multiple of them spawn at once. So it's like that and like there was Draugr Death Lords, I guess. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
a
sure that's
lot.
unique to Soul Steam. Um,
No, they're everywhere.
oh really?
But yeah, they're just really high level.
I thought they were like a different name in Skyrim, like a Draugr Overlord or something like that. Maybe it was a
I
Death
don't know.
Lord, I don't know.
But like they can shout and stuff, and they have the horns on the
Yeah.
helmet.
So okay, well maybe that was my bad then, because I thought they were like a different type of Draugr boss in Skyrim. But So there's that, and then like everything just seems. Oh, werebears. So I was like
I'm
mentally
gonna look this
scarred
up.
from my experience with werebears, cause okay, so um, again, I think like I've built a super tanky character that does a lot of damage with two-handed swords, and like no magic interaction or anything. Um, so I went against these three werebears, which were by this sort of crypt or whatever. And like I didn't know how much damage a werebear can do because I was like, oh, it's probably just like a normal werewolf. That's no big deal. These guys will two-shot you because they attack so fast and they do as much damage as like a normal power attack with each swipe. So that and they essentially regenerate health when they're transforming from a human to a bear. So it's like
Uh,
even if you start attacking one in human form, he's gaining health um like as you're attacking him. So it's like and they run faster than you. So good luck running away because they're going to chase you down and maul you to death again. So anyway, werebears are terrifying, and those stupid Reichling guys, those Reichling chargers do so much damage too. Like you'd think they're just this little boar guy with like a little spike
oh
or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
spear guy on top, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll be two shot by a little boar too. I guess everything can one shot me in this game.
I think it's because you were such a low level because I haven't had that much issue, and I'm like level 40 or 52.
Okay.
So, but I
Well,
think
yeah,
it just scales differently when you're
yeah.
that low level.
I mean, I like in hindsight, I'm glad that I almost got my ass handed to me because they were worth good experience, and I was able to get
Yeah,
so much good loot.
I bet. Yeah.
And I went from essentially 10,000 gold when I got there to about 50 to 60,000 right now.
Ah,
So there's so much loot. Um. So yeah, Skyrim. Still
pretty
playing
sweet.
it three years later than it was released. 2012.
It's just because I think that game is timeless. It's
Oh,
so good.
oh yeah, it's a classic. And
Yeah.
oh, did I tell you this or did I tell somebody else this? Skyrim is the fourth most played game on Steam
Yeah. You
to
told me
this
that.
day. Like that's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
But
Still pretty cool.
yeah, and like I downloaded Falskar, which is actually a mod that introduces a new area by itself too.
Oh,
So
cool.
I've got to play through that. So like I've got so much stuff to do in that game.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty sweet.
Um. Okay, so the other thing, one more game that I was actually really impressed by was Bloodborne, and I think we're a little late to the party on this one talking about it,
Yeah.
but this looks like just a much more immersive, like scarier Dark Souls, essentially.
Yeah.
And it sucks that it's for consoles only, PS4 only, actually, I think.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. But honestly, like I don't blame them because both consoles have like no good games. Like
Yeah.
they kind of started out like in a rut, and it's taken them forever to get out of that because they just both of them just don't have very many good games.
Yeah,
And they're kind of coming out of that, but
the console with the best games so far has been the Wii U, which surprised
yeah.
everybody. But I don't know if you've heard of like Sunset Overdrive. Like that game looked really good. I don't know whatever happened about that. It looked super colorful and just wacky and insane.
What was that? Oh yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
it was announced
I've
at
seen
E3.
yeah, I've seen the thing for that, the trailer. That looks nuts. It looks
Yeah.
like a weirder Borderlands.
Yeah, except it's not like an open. Well, maybe it is an open world. I don't know, but it looks more combat focused
Yeah.
than like wandering around collecting stuff. Um, but yeah, I've seen some gameplay of Bloodborne, and it's first of all looks terrifying because you're
Yeah.
in this world where like everything is out to kill you essentially, and like those things that are out to kill you are really really powerful. So like you are genuinely in danger like every minute that you play in that game.
I know. It's like I just watched like the first 5 minutes of someone's playthrough, and within the first 5 minutes, the first monster killed him. The absolute first
Yeah.
monster killed him. Like he could not get it, and it like that to me is both the worst and the best kind of game because like I would just get so frustrated, but also it just keeps you playing. Like that it would just the fact that it takes that long to do anything is kind of cool because it just like you don't stop. Like you don't want to stop playing.
Yeah, I think it's a reward um
Yeah,
sort of generator too. Like, oh yes, I finally killed this
yeah.
super tanky whatever monster or whatever that was super fast.
But like that's the thing is it's like I almost if I played that I'm almost kind of the coming I'd almost kind of come to the realization of like, oh, I'm this is like the easiest monster in the game. And I like suck at video games. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I
Um
actually I played Dark Souls, could not do it. I suck at that game.
I yeah, c- I honestly tried so hard to play Dark Souls, but um the port for it,
That
well,
thing too.
The original Dark Souls was like so bad.
The port was horrible, and I hate that. I hate when they do that.
Yeah. Speaking of ports, I guess we
Aha.
might as well move on to this
Yeah.
other game. This is the game that I'm probably looking forward to the most. I don't know if it's coming out. I think it's coming out this fall, actually. The Witcher 3. So, IGN recently released the first 15 minutes of The Witcher 3, and I had already seen some footage, like the trailer and stuff. But, like, The Witcher 3 looks so awesome. It basically looks like a cross between Dragon Age Inquisition and Skyrim, or maybe just like a better done Dragon Age Inquisition.
It's actually coming out May 19th of this year.
Oh, so March,
So,
April. Oh, so that's like literally a month from now.
yeah.
So that's super cool. But that 50 minutes of gameplay that they released looked amazing. And my only issue with it so far is that like I've already noticed the audio for Geralt's voice does not suit his environment. So like you might
Huh?
be galloping on a horse in an open field, and like Geralt is talking to his buddy essentially who is running 10 feet in front of him, and he's almost like mumbling his words, and like his buddy can hear him perfectly clearly, and like
But
they need to like add some like echo to his voice or something, or make it as if he's in the outdoors instead of just talking into this mic like we all know that
yeah.
this voice actor is. So that took a
That's
little bit
weird.
from the immersion, but
Yeah. Also, we kind of talked about this a little bit before the podcast started, but the Witcher 2 port is not that good.
yeah,
And
it was very bad.
so I think I really hope that they do way better with this because it looks like a better game. And honestly, I think they're kind of understanding that PC is a huge market and they need to actually like do a good job. Because like you notice, like Grand Theft Auto did a better port.
Yep.
Other games I've heard have just been better overall. I've never heard of like a really bad port recently, but point being, I really hope that they don't fuck that up because it looks so cool, and I don't want to go out and buy an Xbox for this.
Yeah.
There's no way I would.
I
So
mean, you can play with a controller, but there are
yeah,
still the performance issues. I don't know. Okay, one second. So my video is like flashing for some reason. I have no idea why that's happening. I just wanted to point out that I know that is happening. I don't know why though.
okay.
So anyway, um, um, oh, so yeah. I actually like had to quit The Witcher 2 because I don't know, I
Mm.
don't remember if it was just the controls being so bad, um, or what it was, but like you can play with a controller, but it does come down to performance as well. Like, is the game going to be optimized,
Yeah,
so that you're getting more than 60 frames, and like does it load well and stuff like that. So
and I don't even have a controller for my computer, so I can't like. There's no way I'd be able to play that port because it's just so bad,
if
so bad.
you have a wireless Xbox controller, you can get like a wireless receiver. That's
Yeah,
essentially
I've
what I
kind of
did.
thought about it, but at this point, like I don't have any games that I really want it for. Like I just Witcher 2 looks cool, but it doesn't look that cool. It looks like another Assassin's Creed um, to me. And The Witcher 3 looks better, but I mean, I'll probably if they fuck that up, I'll probably get a controller just to play it. But
Yeah, I mean it's like a $10 adapter,
yeah,
so I mean it's not like a huge investment.
Hmm.
But anyway, I was super impressed by The Witcher 3. And actually, they have like a 37-minute video, I think, of like a dev actually playing the game and like just
Oh,
explaining like
cool.
certain things like, oh, so in The Witcher 3 this time, we wanted to make sure that, um, I don't know, you had like varied amount of skills or whatever, insert X dialogue here. But yeah, that was kind of interesting to hear like their changes. And yeah.
Yeah, it looks cool. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, and I think it'll be worth $60 easily too. Like it won't be one of those games where you're like for example, Battlefield Hardline was a $60 release, and you're like,
Mhm.
is it really worth that much money? That's a lot of money.
That I mean, honestly, I think they're kind of steering away from that because the only thing I think they should charge $60 for is something like Grand Theft Auto, because it's such a huge game and it's like
Yeah,
very vast and just like there's a lot of stuff to do other than just the linear story. So I don't know. I think it's hard to judge that and I mean EA's just gonna charge $60 no matter what the game is, but
yeah. Um.
yeah.
So, okay,
Do you want to
so
talk about the league meta a
League,
little bit? Yeah,
like
like how the
with
meta's just
Earth,
fucked.
or like
We could talk about that too.
okay, you say that the meta is fucked up. I actually say it's really balanced.
No, I'm just saying it's just different. Like
Oh yeah.
it just went haywire. Like Urgot is now like top tier.
Yeah.
Hecarim
Ergot,
is being used a lot, which he was good, but it's just weird to see him.
yeah.
Um,
Home
who
guard
else?
teleport man. Deals so much
Yeah.
damage. Yeah, Urgot was actually played in the NALCS, which was so weird. That was so
Yeah.
ridiculous. But like he's actually viable now, which is the strangest conception you could possibly have about League of Legends.
I know.
Like all throughout League history. Well, okay, maybe I'm generalizing it a little bit because I've only been playing it for one 1 to 2 years, whatever. But like ever since I've played League of Legends, Urgot has been the shit champ that everybody
Yep.
just shits on because he's so bad.
Yep.
So to
And
see
they
him
brought him
actually,
back.
yeah, I don't know. Like they must have given him huge buffs. I didn't even read his buffs. I just saw that in
I
the
didn't
patch they
either.
had buffed him.
Yeah.
So.
And like you see, like you were saying, Cho'Gath mid and Ezreal mid
Yep.
and Alistar. I saw Alistar in an LCS game. You don't see that very much.
Yeah, Alistar used to be really powerful. I think it was like 6 months ago or something.
Yeah.
He was even
Yeah,
being
I remember
played
that.
top lane.
Yeah, I remember that.
But like, yeah,
Wasn't that kind of a quick thing though? Like they ended it
yeah,
pretty fast.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think like I don't know what people see in him honestly because
He's not that good.
yeah, he really isn't. Like he's got a rush AoE CC followed up by maybe an ult where where he's super tanky and does what 50 extra AD. Like
Yeah.
that's okay, but like then you might as well just be running hybrid Annie at that point.
Yeah, I know.
Just have better AoE CC with
Yep.
way more damage.
Yep.
Um, so yeah,
But he's got a longer range, I suppose. I don't know. They're just different. And
yeah,
I just don't think he's that good.
yeah. No, I don't think so either. There are certain champions where it's like you watch an LCS match and you're like, oh, that champion looks amazing. I gotta play that
Uh,
champion. And then you play it in like bronze and you're like, oh Jesus, this is so bad. Why did I even
yep.
start this? Like,
Because you gotta have that team synergy.
yeah, and you have to yeah communication first of
Yep.
all. You know who was surprising that like I have consistently been surprised by this champion for the past like month or two is Tarek.
Yeah.
So so Tarek was also one of those shit on champions where everybody's like, "Oh, Tarek's the worst support." But the thing is, you can do so much with a guaranteed stun, like that doesn't clip through minions essentially. So like Morgana has the best root in the game, but it's a very slow-moving projectile, and it's bound to obviously hit a minion if they're in the way.
Yep.
What I've actually seen is you essentially have like an Ezreal Taric bot lane, and Taric will stun like the ADC or whoever, and then Ezreal will teleport in, use his QW and like an auto attack, and then he'll like disengage. And basically, what you do is you poke really hard when you know that they can't really do anything.
Yeah.
And his, I think it's the passive on his W or whatever his armor shield is, gives your ADC extra armor and magic resist, so they actually don't take that much damage either. Like, I don't know, I've just been really impressed with him because he actually does a decent amount of damage, and like his stun is so versatile. But
I know. It's just, some champions are good. They just don't fit what everyone else is kind of playing, and that's kind of what the meta is.
yeah,
And I think that he just like kind of emerged out of nowhere. And even though like he wasn't like he hadn't really been changed much, and he wasn't like, I don't know, like he wasn't played a lot back then, and he's not really played a lot now. He just seems a lot better.
yeah. I mean, maybe it's just like isolated incidents where I happen to be going against like a good Taric.
Could be.
I mean, he's still one of the worst supports, but it's just interesting to play around with the idea of like an unavoidable stun. I mean, really,
Yeah.
you know, you could. Well, first of all, he doesn't do well in team fights because he's single target focused. So obviously, that's going to be one of those, like that's his downfall. And one could argue that if you're going to play Taric, you might as well be playing Annie because she essentially has like a lock on stun as well, and she's just better in team fights. That's pretty much, yeah. That would actually sum up playing Annie over Taric. She's just better.
And he's better. We have decided.
Yeah, Taric is naturally more tanky though. I think
Yeah.
he is like at like level 4, he has like 300 more health than
Wow.
me as Thresh. I actually like looked at that one time. I'm like, why is this guy so tanky? He just has retarded base stats, but anyway, Nidalee has been super dominant. So dominant.
Pretty much everywhere.
she
Like
has-
jungle
she-
especially, but
Yeah. She is one of the best junglers slash mid laners, and she has always been one of the best, at least mid laners, I think.
yeah. She was top lane even for a while.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing Balls play her in one of the LCS matches.
Yeah, and honestly, she can, like, she's one of those champions where she can go anywhere because she's so versatile. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Nidalee top, you build Bruiser. That was like a thing. You go Nidalee jungle, she's super dominant as she is in the jungle right now. You go mid, that's in the meta right now too. Support, you have poke, you have a heal. ADC, you essentially go AD and she's ranged.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, so ridiculous. Such a good champion.
Yeah, she's good. And she's fun to play. Like she's like some of the champs in the past have just been boring. Like, do you remember Scion, the old Scion?
Yeah, he was
He was just
so
not
dumb.
fun. And he was good for a while. He wasn't like dominant, but he was just not fun. And like Nidalee is just really fun to play. Like she's just fun to bounce around and
Yeah.
hit people with spears and
You essentially get 2 champions in one with her ultimate
Yeah.
transformation, so that was
Cool.
interesting too. Let's see, who else has been super dominant?
I'm not really
It's
sure.
it's hard to compare like LCS bans because, you know, they target their ban specifically to how a team plays, so it's
Yeah.
not like, you know, oh, they banned Jaina, she must be really good. Well, no, it actually
Jaina's
might be because you have a really hard engaged support and you don't want the disengaged counter ability of Jaina.
Yep.
So it's like that's but like, I mean, all of the ADCs are pretty much equal. A lot of the junglers are equal except for pretty much Nidalee and Vi.
Yeah,
And
God,
and
Vi.
Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is so good. He has his own
Rek'Sai's-
teleport. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Top mid. Yeah. I don't know. I still say a lot of the champions are like so equal right now in this patch. You know,
Yeah.
you can't really pinpoint a certain champion and be like, oh, this champion is the worst. Like,
Yeah,
you can say, okay, well, take a Soraka support, for example. She's bad, but she's not like helpless
Yeah.
because she has a form of CC. She has retarded amount of heals, stuff like
And
that.
honestly, a retarded amount of damage.
Yeah, like she
You can
actually
do
does
some
a decent
damage.
amount of damage. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've been recording for 52 minutes,
Not bad.
minus probably the 4-minute extension when OBS stopped recording. So if you would like to wrap up the show there, we totally can.
Sure.
Alright, so that was Filler Feed Podcast Episode 6. As always, if you guys could leave a rating if you enjoyed the video, that's always appreciated. Also, feel free to leave your thoughts about anything that we're talking about in the comment section below. We'd always love to hear what you think. And, yeah, so you can find myself, obviously, is going to be uploaded to my YouTube channel. Otherwise, if you want to follow Eric on Twitter, his Twitter tag is right above his video. Also, our names, which are in parentheses, are our League Summoner names. I don't really know if we'll accept you on League, mostly because
Yeah.
recently we've been getting, like, I don't know about you, but I've been getting so many friend requests, and I'm pretty sure they're from, like, bot accounts or something that are, like, trying to sell you RP and stuff. Like, that's recently been a thing for some reason.
I would say if you want to add us, just comment on the video.
Yeah, just, like, comment
We'll
with
see
your
that.
name, and I'll just look for, like, if somebody adds me and they commented on the video, I'll, like, know your username so I can obviously not filter you with all of the spam friend requests. Anyway, so yeah, Filler Feed episode 6, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Bye.